Hey, music lovers, Sarah J here. Looking for an inclusive space where you can connect with fellow fans, deep dive into your favorite music, and be a part of something special? Well, look no further. Join us on Patreon, where music and community come together. Get exclusive content, behind the scenes access, and a place to geek out over the artists you love, plus explore music you haven't heard yet. Come hang out with us. Patreon.com/DATC Media Company. That's patreon.com/DATC Media Company. See you there. A member of the DATC Media family. Then let's talk about gift shop. Let's talk about then connect the dots, because we kind of put a pin in your bands, and then we kind of ventured off and went to music and brought the hip in along the way and picked them up. So then kind of connect the dots for me with bands, and then bring us into where we are now with gift shop.
Okay, I will.
Perfect.
So there was a period of time there once I was done with my original bands where I was playing saxophone in a like a wind ensemble. So that was for a number of years actually. We did some cool things. We actually went to like the south of France for a little trip, and it was a fairly high level group. And um, I there's one part of my story that I'm not sure if anyone picked up on, but there may be one thing that didn't make sense to people, because at the very start of this conversation, I talked about my Les Paul, my Tobacco Sunburst 77 Les Paul Deluxe, and I mentioned how I traded it in. I always regretted trading it in. Like it was like one of those things where like it just wasn't what I needed at the time. Now, what's really cool is that when I traded it in for my GNL, Kurt Phillips, the guitar store owner, the guitar player of Witch Killer, who recently played in Germany, um, after 42 years of not playing, he kept the guitar, he kept the Les Paul for himself. Like he didn't put it back in the store. And so all those years, like he, and every time I'd see him, I'd, or, interact with him online or whatever, I just, hey, how's the Les Paul? Oh, good. And, or he'd post a picture of him playing a concert with the Les Paul. So it was really cool to see that. It just felt like it wasn't gone forever. And then 2020 hits, and I won't get into all that, but yeah, that's a different podcast. I was hospitalized in March of 2020. I was really sick with COVID. Anyways, that's not what this is about. I'll just plug my wife really quickly. My wife is still not better. She has long COVID. She actually has a podcast called Voices of Long COVID. I'll give her a little plug, where you can hear her story and I guess mine, and and she does a really great job of she's like building community around that topic. And anyways, I was really sick, like for like I don't know, a month. I'm fully recovered, and it was a scary time though. This was like early on. This is like I was like the one person that like people like, have you even met anyone who's had COVID? No. It's like, well, I have. Um, and so I got out of the hospital, and about a couple weeks later, Kurt, the guitar store guy, he emailed me and a couple of guys from Evil Roy Slave just out of the blue, just or like message on Facebook or whatever, said, hey, I found these old photos. I was going through my stuff of Evil Roy, and sent us a couple photos. And I just responded, oh cool, like how's the Les Paul? And he's like, actually, I'm thinking of selling it. And I was like, I've regretted getting rid of that guitar for like 28 years. Like how much? And so, and the nice thing was like, he knew exactly what I paid for it the first time. I knew what, he got, like I knew he wasn't going to scam me. Right. I'd been dealing with him my whole life. And so I got back 28 years later got back my Les Paul. And the cool thing was, so the whole reason I got rid of it in the first place was that the sound just wasn't beefy enough. So in the meantime, he had actually swapped out the original pickups and put in some lollers, and now it just sounds amazing. And so I met him. This is like in the middle of like lockdown stuff. Like I had to go on the ferry. He's just across on the island, and I literally walked off. It was a 30-second transaction. I'm not even joking. I had to turn around and get right back on to go back. It was like grab the guitar. Hi, how's it going? You know, he sanitized the case, and like this is like April of 2020. I get right back on the ferry. You're not even supposed to be using like the ferry for non-emergency things at this time, but it's like this
It
is an
was an
emergency.
emergency thing.
I
It
just
was.
like, yeah. Um, it didn't even swap money. It was just like, you know, if you like it, send me the money. If you don't want it, just bring it back. And so I took it home, played it once, and I was like, yeah, I need this guitar back. And yeah, so crazy. And then here's where it gets kind of even crazier. So I'm not even thinking about playing music at this time. Like I wasn't really thinking of joining a band or anything. I was playing drums with some friends, and we'd play the occasional gig. So I was still gigging occasionally. I was playing in the wind band, but that kind of phased out after 2020. And in 2022 we're on vacation, summer vacation. We're in Jasper, Alberta. I'm in a hot tub. I'm on my phone, and I see an advertisement. Ian McDonald um, has put out, a guy I didn't know, but I recognize the name. And so basically, it was the ad was I'm looking for we're looking for a Paul Langlois for our Tragically Hip tribute band. Free rehearsal space. There's some gigs booked, you know, and contact us or whatever. And so right away I clicked on his profile, realized he was friends with the drummer of Evil Roy Slade, the band I was in like 1993.
Of course. Of
So
course.
I emailed Chad, who now lives in Ottawa, and said, "Hey, this guy Ian starting a hip tribute. What do you think?" And right away, like he gets back to me like right away. I haven't talked to the guy in like 5 years, and he said he's a great guy, he's a great singer. You should do it. And I also texted my wife, who's in the hotel room right beside me. Hey, like, what do you think of this screenshot? And she also said, and I kind of to my surprise said, yeah, you should do it. So right away I texted him back. I said, I'm away on vacation. I'm back in 10 days. I'm your guy. Like I've never been as confident of anything in my life as this, to the point where I'm on vacation. I don't have a guitar with me. So I'm like listening to hip songs. Like I know a lot of them already. So like I knew I could learn a whole bunch really quickly. He sends me a song list of 30 songs. I knew at least 10 of them already. Um, but I knew them well. Like they're just ingrained in my mind, right? Like, so even I could pick them up really quickly. I watched a couple like videos online just to see, okay, I can kind of learn some things while I'm away. And then I look up like Paul Langlois gear, and I even like ordered a couple of the pedals that he uses, before I've even like jammed with these guys. So I've already spent like
You
500
just
bucks on
knew.
pedals or whatever. And then one of the cool things was like, and I think I knew this, but I just never thought of it. But Paul Langlois plays a Les Paul Deluxe, like I think a '76 um, Sunburst Les Paul, and I was just like, wow, I have like the guitar all ready for this. I've got the ASAT, which is basically like a Telly, which is his other main guitar. So
Mm-hmm.
I had everything, that I needed. Went to the jam, and yeah, right away they invited me to join, and so yeah, I'm playing in a band called Gift Shop. We're a Tragically Hip tribute band, which if you're not Canadian, this would be so bizarre to hear, but there are like so many. It's
So
crazy. Like
many. It is
it,
so crazy. And I already thought I knew that there was so many, but after I really like Jamie will still do some posting on social on Instagram, but I've really taken the lead on running the Instagram for really all three of the pages and really trying to help build up all of the following and the traffic and algorithm with those. And because of that and just really like scrolling through the stuff that goes into your feed when you're following Tragically Hip stuff, it is insane how many there really truly are. Like, I don't know if there's an actual number because it's hard sometimes to really keep up with it. And if anybody's listened to my show or knows me, they know how I feel about tribute bands. We've had lots of conversations about it. So actually talking to someone now who is in a tribute band, talk a little bit about that, like what it's like anyways, but then especially being in a Tragically Hip tribute band where there are so many of them. So talk about both of those experiences.
Well, I can say I had a little bit of experience with tribute bands. Years ago, one of the members of Windows 78 put on it's a bit of a sad story, but they had a premature baby, like I'm talking like months and months, and so and everything ended up being okay, but like very stressful time for them, obviously. And she ended up being okay, and she's now same age as my son, so probably 17 now. And but about a year or two went by, and this guy Greg, he decided to put on like a benefit concert for the children's hospital. He wanted to like raise enough money for like another incubator, I think it was. And so he put on a show. Like a crazy fan of The Cure. He's been to like Australia, like Wembley, like he traveled like New York, like he's been everywhere. He's seen them many dozens of times, and like he knows, he has like an encyclopedic knowledge of The Cure. Like I've never seen anyone for any band before. Like he could tell you like a demo, like and The Cure has a ton of music out there, so he
Yeah,
knows everything about them. Like it's weird how much he knows.
that's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. And so anyways, he put like a little Cure thing together, and then he was, and a good friend of his, a guy he had played with, was a big Cult fan. And so I'm not sure how I got into this, but I just volunteered to play drums for this Cult thing. And so we did. It was like a one-off. We played like a Cult tribute show, and it was super fun. So we ended up playing some more shows, and so that was my first experience. But we weren't like super serious. We were just like, we play shows every once in a while just for fun, and we're not dressing up, we're not putting on wigs or anything like that. Um, and so I have a real hard time with some tributes. Like I've never, I don't usually like them. Like I would say out of all the tributes I've seen, like 10% of the time I'm like impressed, and I'm like I can enjoy a show.
Hmm.
And I've been thinking a lot lately because it was a it was a hard thing to like, I had to like really think about how I felt about doing this, but it just felt right. And I think that's what it was. Like I went to the hip jam, and I had my first thought before I even got there was like, what if I just spent all this money on gear, and these guys are terrible. Like I was basically going on, what my friend had said, that he was a great singer. So, that's obviously important. But
Hmm.
when I got there, and it was just like five guys having fun playing this music. Like I could tell they were all fans. No one was like trying to, like, we're not trying to pretend that we are the Tragically Hip. We're not. There's no wigs. There's no, that's one of the things I said in my text message to him when I was like, I'm your guy, as long as you don't want me to wear like a curly hair wig or whatever. I'll do it.
You have to play
um,
with a cigarette hanging out of your mouth.
yeah, yeah. So, so here's the thing, like, you go see a symphony orchestra, they're playing covers, they're playing, you know, Beethoven or whatever. Like I really don't think it's that different. And some people argue, oh no, it takes away from original music. No, it's not. The people coming to our show are not going to see your indie rock band in the downtown, you know, CD club, right?
Nope.
They're you know, our
Nope.
fan base is a lot older, and they're, oh, not all of them. We actually get a lot of young fans, which is another story, but
Yep.
um and that's more specific, I think, to the hip.
Yep.
And if you're not Canadian, like the hip just are, they're so iconic. They're like a part of the, like the fabric of our country. And so I think a lot of younger people come to our shows because they, you know, their parents listen to them and they never got to see them. So that's what's really cool, is covering an artist that you can't go out and see anymore.
Yeah.
Is if done correctly. And there are some, I'll just say it, there are some terrible Tragically Hip tributes, and there are some great ones. And there's a lot
Absolutely.
in the somewhere in the middle.
In the middle. Yeah.
I think we're one of the great ones. I'm
I
biased,
agree
but
too. I mean, we've talked about it, in our many conversations about it, and we've gotten really in depth into, our personal opinions of what, like we said before, kind of would be the checklist of whatever. And what I appreciate about your lead singer and his energy that he brings to the table and everything too. So I would agree with your statement. You're not just self-promoting. This is a true
yeah.
statement. So,
And honestly, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think that we were good. Like, you know,
right.
I am mostly just doing it for fun. It's, you know, I like playing music. I've done it all my life. I don't want to stop playing just because, you know, I'm not doing original stuff anymore, but it's hard to do original music when you're my age, when you're, you know, you've got families and careers, and that's
Life.
kind of what happened.
Life.
Like that's what I said. Like that's what Windows 78 was about. Like a lot of the music was about that. I mean,
Yeah.
a couple lines especially was a, you know, you've got these responsibilities now, and just coordinating the schedules of four band members or whatever is next to impossible when, you know, if you're not making a living at it. So there's a market for it. Someone's going you know, someone's going to be playing this music. It might as well be me. I'm, you
For
know,
sure.
someone who's dedicated to doing it properly, because you, like when you see us, we've got we've got like a racks of guitars because we play everything in the proper tunings. Um, you know, like our lead guitar player, you know, he has a lot of the same guitars that Rob Baker plays. He even went out and bought, like, you know, he pieced together his own brown Strat recently, and that's one of his new guitars.
That's
And
amazing.
he'll watch, like he always gets mad because a lot of the videos on YouTube don't show Rob very much,
Yeah.
and he'll be like, "What do you think that's a what, you know, whatever pickup?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like I'm not a gear, like I've got my gear I love, but I'm not super knowledgeable about, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I know what I like.
Yeah.
Um, oh, by the way, I should say the other part of my sound is I've got a Mesa dual rectifier that I bought in 1995, and I still have it and I use it to this day. And that is, I cannot replace it. Like our lead guitar player is ampless. He goes through a, yeah, I'm not going to give our secrets away, but he has an amp modeler, and that's actually a really good story, but I can't tell it. um, but I play through the rectifier still with an old Rivera cabinet I bought from Kurt, like in the like late '90s or something, and it's just, I can't replace that sound, and I
Yeah.
hate hauling it around, but
Yeah.
it looks cool.
It
um,
looks cool. How was your pedal? Do you have an update? What
yeah,
happened?
we just played we played the rainiest. It was supposed to be our biggest show of the year. We were playing a rib fest, big, like a festival, a
Yeah.
food festival type thing,
Yeah.
on a big stage. We were the opening night. We had a good time slot. Uh, Last year on that same, you know, the Friday, they had like 12,000 people, and this time they were like, they said there was 2,000. I don't know, like that seems very high to me. Oh, I think most of those people got their food and left because it was the worst rainstorm. Like, I think it was the worst in 113 years or something, as far as like on that day anyways, like a August.
Of course.
It
Of
was
course. I
so there
mean,
was
and
like
if it was like
sideways
it's been
rain.
here, like it's been such a dry summer that under any other circumstances, that kind of rain would have been welcomed because you're like, finally, the
Yeah,
grass
yeah,
needed it so bad. But you're like,
yeah.
not today.
Yeah, so that was, I don't know, it was disappointing, but it was
But it
super
does
fun.
also awesome. Like it's one of those things where it's like disappointing because it's raining. You obviously want a
Yeah.
beautiful day, but there's that energy with playing in the rain.
There was, and it got windy for a while too, and it was just felt like we are in a storm, and it was like really fun
Yeah.
until I looked down and my pedals are like soaking wet, and my one pedal died. Our guitar player is still looking at it. He thinks he's sourced the like he's figured out the problem. He's just looking for a part. So hopefully it can be saved because,
Hopefully.
um, but
Sending
I had never
prayers to the
played in,
gear gods.
yeah, in all the years of playing, I don't think I've ever played in conditions like that. It was like I've played in the rain a bit before, but nothing like that. So
I
it was
saw the
fun.
videos. It was, yeah, I was like, this is next level.
Yeah, I wish we had more video because just to show the conditions and just even the people in the crowd. Like there were people just getting soaked and dancing, and so we still got people up dancing,
I love
which
that
was
though.
fun, but it should have
Yes.
been thousands and not dozens. But
All right. You have
yeah,
what do you have coming up for gigs?
we're on a bit of a break and we're back, I guess, September 13th. We do a casino near here. We're doing a couple, like we're mostly like a club band. We do the occasional theater show. That's sort of our goal, is to kind of do the occasional theater, maybe a couple times a year, and then stick to, like we can pack a club like crazy. So it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like, we're, we're not trying to make a living at it. So, it's
You
not
don't
about
have
the
that
money for
pressure
us.
on it
It's,
again.
yeah,
It gives it that space to just have fun and it doesn't give it that pressure of this has to work because we have to pay the bills with this, you know? So it takes
yeah,
that necessity, that pressure off of it. It's just fun.
yeah. I mean, we want to take a step and do, some slightly larger gigs, but we've been doing some summer festivals that have been pretty big, and we're looking for other opportunities like that. But up here, the weather really only permits that from, you know, in the summer months, really.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of rain, so we're kind of back indoors starting in September, and yeah, so we've got a website, giftshop.hipband.ca, and you can see all of our gig listings there and links to tickets and videos and audio. It's actually a pretty decent website, I think.
Did you make the website? Did you do it?
I helped, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the one who updates it, so
I love it.
I'm
I
kind
love
of the
it.
social media guy. I'm kind of like the I don't know. I do a lot of the video stuff. Um,
And that's always you too. Whenever we're like on the thing, we're like, "Is this Craig?" You're like, "Yes, this is me. I don't know how to log out of this
yeah,
his
I'm scared to
profile." So
log out
yes,
of
it's
my
me.
YouTube account. Yeah.
Well, I really want to make sure that we talk about discovering Downie for a billion reasons. Um, but I want first of all, I want you to tell me how you got involved. Talk about your experience of that, working on that project and everything. But I also want to pick your brain about your process of digesting the project because you and I have talked about it. I'm sure I've mentioned it a couple times in this conversation. There were so many things that people that know me the way that I digest music, and I'm just a big nerd about it and will make all the notes about things and everything. And so for me, I was listening to the albums and then listening to the podcast episode. And then I would spend some time like in the vortex of that album. Like I would spend like maybe 2 weeks with the album and just give it a lot of listens and really refer back to what you guys had said on the show. And honestly, I listened to each episode probably at least twice because there's a lot of information in those episodes. And it's just a lot of information in the albums itself to just absorb itself, but then to hear you guys talk about it. And it felt like every single thing that I would make notes on, especially as we got further into everything, because then there would be cross references, oh, well, he said this here and it ties back to, 3 albums before. And, so as you get further down into everything, every single time you were just like getting everything on my list and like remembering this here and there. So I'm really curious what your process was in digesting that catalog and taking on that project of that podcast.
Well, I started out, I think, like most of us, as a fan of. When I, I tell JD this sometimes, but the first podcast I ever listened to was Fully and Completely, which was his first hip based podcast. And so I think I didn't even really know what a podcast was. This is kind of, I don't know, 2018 or something.
Yeah.
And I just, I'd heard about them. I guess I knew what they were, but I'd never actually, I was like, why would you want to listen to people talk? I don't know. It sounds boring.
Yep. Yep.
um, but I don't know, trying new things. And so I just searched, I don't know, I probably searched like Archers of Loaf and nothing came up. And then I searched Tragically Hip and okay, this sounds interesting. So what I did was I picked an album like I think Day for Night or something just to get something in the middle of the catalog. I think they'd maybe released about 6 or 7 at the time. Um, a sort of mutual friend, like a person I know and who ties back to Windows 78. We shared a rehearsal space with this guy Rob. He was a guest on the I want to say Music at Work episode of Fully and Completely.
Okay.
And so Rob posted about it on his Facebook. So I think I also saw it there. And maybe that's how I found it. But anyways, I was kind of like, okay, I kind of know a guy who's on it. Um, I'm going to check this out. But I picked Day for Night and I listened to it. And I just kind of liked the banter back and forth between Greg and Jamie. And it just, it was something to do while I did the dishes or whatever while I was driving. And then I got more and more into it. And then, of course, I circle back, go to the beginning and listen up to until I was, live, I guess, uh, getting the episodes as they came out. And I at one point I wrote this huge email. I still have it. I think I may have shared it with them recently, but I wrote this huge email to the two of them and just stating a couple things that I had learned or wanted to share about the hip, and they never got back to me. But I kept listening.
I
And
would totally rib on him every day for that, at least like, or like at least once a
totally ignored
week,
me.
be like, I'm still waiting for that email back.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, so I don't know, I just was a fan of the podcast, and then Getting Hip to the Hip came out, and
I
repping
love
the shirt
that.
right now. And I was really
Nice
fascinated
shirt.
with that whole just the experiment of it, right? Like it was just really fascinating to hear. And I was almost questioning the decision to start at the start with the EP. I was kind of like, I don't think you're gonna hook these guys because there's some. I really love the EP, but it's not. I mean, look at where they went after that is just
Yeah.
mind boggling. Like
Yeah.
I can't think of another band that transformed as much as they did. And so I was a little worried that it would be a failed experiment, but thankfully they stuck with it. And I was a big fan, and I wrote in a few times, a few emails. They did respond, and had a little kind of like friend, once in a while email here and there with the guys from that, um, including Pete, who was very dismayed that my Les Paul didn't have a pick guard, because when I bought it the first time in '92, it had a pick guard, and then when I got it back in 2020, it he had taken the pick guard off. So we had an argument about that. Anyways, so I ended up flying out for the Getting Hip to the Hip finale party, and that's when I first met. Yeah, I guess that's when I first met them. Um, and I guess the only time I've met Pete and Tim, but
Yeah.
and Dan actually was out there from London, and yeah, and so I went to the event. I was late. The flight was like 6 hours late, so I ended up getting there like they had already. I think the band had already played a set when I got there, and they were sort of just like waiting to do like they're actually texting me like, are you gonna be here soon? We gotta start, like the, you know, the live portion. And so I like got to the place, I, you know, take off my shirt, you know, like kind of like freshen up really quickly in the like alley behind the place, go in fresh off, you know, I've been traveling all day, got my backpack and everything, and go in, grab a beer, and just like plunk myself down. Then it started. And yeah, it was really cool. And then I, you know, I talked to them after briefly. I didn't talk to them a ton that night because it was really just hectic for them, I could tell. And um but we made plans to maybe hang out the next day. So the next, I was only there for two nights or one night. Maybe I was only there for one night. And so anyways, the next day before I flew home, we hung out for maybe like 5 6 hours, just wandering the streets of Toronto, and went to the Horseshoe and checked out the checkerboard floors, which I'd never been to before. And just hung out and talked music and had a few beer. And then I flew home. And a couple months later, JD came out to visit family, and I got him into one of our shows. It was like a private like Christmas party thing. It was a really weird show, but anyways, he came and we hung out a bit on that trip. And then he put out the just a random, you know, message on Facebook about, you know, looking for big hip fans who don't know Gord's solo work. And I kind of knew right away like I kind of knew what it was about. And um I was just like messaging him right away, like that's me. Like I've got unopened Gord Downie CDs on my CD stand over here that I've been wanting to get into, but just hadn't found just couldn't bring myself to do it. You know, I especially Introduce Yourself. I just couldn't open that album. And I knew that a time would come when I'd have the time or be able to. And that's what led to it. And so right away he got back to me, and I think Justin was on board, like we were brought on right away. And then a few days later, oh, I've got this third guy. I think I might bring him on, and only if you guys are cool with it. And said, yeah, sure, whatever. More the merrier. And that's when Kurt came on, and yeah, and then we had a quick Zoom meeting where we just talked for a couple minutes, and then the next thing we recorded was the first episode. And I was very nervous. I'd never been on a podcast. I'd done music for a couple. Um, my wife's was actually coming out right that same time, and so I'd done the music on hers and a little bit of editing. I had done music for at least one other. Um, there was a National Geographic thing that came out that I did a theme song for a couple years ago, but I'd never been speaking on a podcast. So I was a bit worried because the other guys all had experience. So that was a bit tough. My process was really just immerse myself in the CD for, you know, listen to it, doing dishes, driving, listen over and over. And then I'd start taking notes. I just had a little notebook. And I just, you know, if a line popped out or a thought crossed my mind, I'd quickly pause what I was doing and write it down. And that was really my process, was just listening, and then like trying to find connections maybe to hip songs, or to a lot of times it just connected to like memories. Like I shared this story about Emmett Otter on the first podcast. And
My God, Emmett Otter. That's what I wanted to tell you guys too. Like I texted my mom as I was listening to that episode, and I was like, Mom, they just mentioned Emmett Otter. It's like we watch that every year at
yeah, I
Christmas.
do
Like I
too.
have
Yeah.
the DVD of it because it's
Yeah,
like
me
it's a
too.
thing in our family.
Yeah. So that was fun. I found that that was sort of my thing, was like finding a story to fit in. Like sometimes I just make these connections to like certain things in my life, and I was like, you know, that reminded me of, you know, like I'm not going to repeat the story, but definitely listen to, I think it's on the second episode of Coke Machine Glow, where I tell the story about my town stealing cable, and that's how I
Mhm.
got to know Emmett Otter. And so when the songs made me think, actually my daughter made the connection, like, oh, this sounds like Emmett Otter. And so just those connections, I'd write those down, or if it triggered like a funny story, I'd write it down. And you know, sometimes it was always difficult because you never know what the other two guys were going to say, and so you're kind of waiting to tell your story, but then sometimes like someone would say something and it didn't work out. And so there were definitely things I didn't get to share, um, but I usually got in most of what I wanted to. And then as the process went on, it got a little easier. I like I said, I kind of discovered what worked for me. I think like um, kind of find like I didn't even know what my role would be when we first started. Like
Yeah.
Justin very quickly established himself as the research guy, so he really dug into those lyrics, and then Kirk was more, I don't know, like philosophical, maybe like just sort of like um yeah, just kind of reflecting on things like in an overall sense.
Totally.
And then I found for me, like, sharing little stories, but also just digging deep into the music really was my thing. Like really
Yeah.
like maybe coming from the
And you were really good at picking up the little clues, that the little breadcrumbs that Gord was leaving all over the place. And like I absorb the world like that anyway. Like there will be things, and I'm always the one that'll pick it up, and people like be shocked by something, and I'm like, "Yeah, but didn't you notice when whatever happened and whatever?" And they're like, "Oh, I was been like, okay." So I'm always like really good at picking up like the clues and everything. And that was something that you were really the one that was picking up the breadcrumbs and the different pieces that he was leaving, like the little puzzle pieces. And like that's why I brought up to you that like weird thing that I was like, do you think that like his favorite color was yellow? Because there's like yellow in all these different parts, and then like he'll say yellow in this song and here and whatever. And it's just like, when I thought about that, I knew exactly who to take that to, because you were picking up these breadcrumbs and these little puzzle pieces that like he's intentionally leaving those there. Like he wants you to find these little pieces of treasure that connect all these different things. And so that's what I really enjoyed about your contribution to it, was that you were picking up these little things that he was leaving around places.
yeah, some of the albums definitely felt like they had very definite themes. Like you could almost tell what was on his mind at the time
Mhm.
by, like you said, color. Like on The Ground Bounce was
Mhm.
such a huge part of it. Like I forget, I went through the different, like I picked up on maybe four main themes: water, color. There's a
Yep.
couple more. But yeah, yeah. As soon as you said that, I thought about the Sudbury yellow, and I remember
Yep.
like researching, like, what is this? And it's so cool. You look it up, and it's an actual color, like, and it's like named after a certain. I can't remember now. I told the story then, but it's like a something to do with like the Queen of England or something, and it's a certain room in the whatever, and it's a very distinct color though. Like when you see it, it's like striking. It's like
Yeah.
wow, that's like
Yep.
only Gord would pick up on something like that. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, just I loved finding those themes, and like they were all over Introduce Yourself, especially like him like leave almost like leaving these like like life lessons, as he knew as he was gonna pass away soon, and he leaving words of wisdom, but also just some silly stuff too, and um
Yeah.
just trying to leave things for his kids and his family and his fans.
Miss
And
people.
so that was
Yeah.
always fun to pick up on. Like like I think that was my favorite part, was like making a discovery, like we're like, wow, like this is something I heard in a live rant in 1995, and here it is on a Gord Downie solo album, or sometimes he actually used the same lyrics in like he used this lyric in two different songs, and finding things like that was really fun. um and just the whole process, like meeting the guys, was like we still talk on Messenger all the time. Like I consider them like really close friends, and it's too bad we live like as far apart as you can live, like
So
California
spread
and
out that you
Vancouver,
got like
Vermont,
two East Coast
Toronto.
and
Yeah,
two West Coast. That's why when it was Jamie's birthday and I was like, all right guys, I'm gonna do a post on Discovering Downie socials. So everybody send me pictures, because I want to have these great pictures of you guys. And you guys spammed me with just the best pictures of you guys.
yeah,
Like
we had
you could tell you just had the best time ever all hanging out. And That's what I loved about it too, was like, not only was it the first time you guys met, but even just working on this project, like you guys hadn't all hung out and even talked, before the Zoom call and then recorded the first episode. Like you were all, that was it. And then you were just in it. And it was really cool because you guys were just kind of learning about each other at the same time and just building this friendship along with dissecting this music. So that was a lot of fun to be along for too, was you guys building this brotherhood too.
Yeah, it was unlike anything I've experienced. I mean, I've been in bands, so I guess it's similar in some ways. You meet, like
Right.
the band I'm in now, I didn't know any of the guys beforehand, and they all had some kind of connection um to at least one other member, but so it's kind of similar in that way, but it's so different when you're just, not even meeting in person. And then like Gord Downie Pier was the first place we were all together at the same time. So I had met JD, like I said, a couple times, but Kirk we met for breakfast like the night after we landed, because he landed late. We were already, retired for the night, and so we met him that morning at breakfast, and then drove to Kingston and met up with Justin. And it was just the craziest. Like, you have to listen to those episodes just to hear. There's a wrap up episode where we kind of talk about all the
I don't think
craziness
I
of those 3
listened to
days.
that episode. Okay, I
Yeah,
did not
it's
listen to that episode.
yeah, because what happened was we forgot we forgot to record the actual interview with Patrick Downey. And so what was supposed to be the finale episode never happened. So we got together and just did like memories of we talked about it and what we learned from
It's
him.
still fun though.
And so
You
it's still the
still
same.
got
And maybe it's
yeah.
good in a way. I kind of like that it was like you had to be there to hear it. And we probably said some
Which is
stupid
still
things
like
anyway.
that makes it a little more exclusive, but that's so funny. That's typical like Jamie fashion for sure.
So
It's a
yeah. Yeah. The best part, I have to say, and I'll give you this as a warning, was like half an hour before the door was open. Oh, I guess we should start listing the items for auction. And me and Kirk were just like, what? So we had me and Kirk are madly like putting together packages. Like, okay, Patrick brought us this huge gift basket. Let's make it into 3 different packages, and then we putting price, like doing this all online, and it was like craziness. But it just added to it was
yeah.
that kind of weekend. Like, it was just like I think I mentioned, I flew back. My flight was delayed, and I landed in Vancouver, got in my car, and drove to a gig where my band, I
Yes.
pre-planned my bandmates would have all my gear and deliver it, and so I had no sleep for days and playing this gig.
That's they mentioned I think we talked about that in like a Sunday evening jam or something. We definitely
Yeah,
like brought that up. I think it was like when Kirk was on with you too and he was talking about your rock star weekend.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was definitely a good time, and yeah,
I love
check
that
out
though.
the finale episode. I don't know what it's called, but there's a episode near the end where I find my one complaint about podcasts in general is just like how disorganized the feeds are, and I don't know that there's a solution to that, but um
I'll
it's
find
yeah.
it. I'll find it. I will. I'll scroll through
Yeah.
and find it's interesting, like especially with that because Jamie put the top 40 countdown like in the same feed as Discovering Downie. So it's interesting how like when I was working on Gord's catalog, but also listening to the top 40 episodes, they would be separated like in my feed because I was still listening to like these ones. But then when I got to like a certain point of the Discovering Downie ones, it changed over to the whatever. So I think that's why I missed that final episode because I don't know if it like skipped it or something, but I'll find it. And I definitely want to listen to this.
Right.
I did not listen to it.
Yeah, it
So
would be from probably, yeah, I don't know, late June, early July. Or no, sorry, late July, early August.
because you guys
I'm
had the
guessing is
event
when
in
we
the
did it.
summer.
The event was like July, I think 19th or something, or 18th. So it
Okay.
would have been maybe a week or two after that we would have recorded. I think we've done a few things since then too. We maybe did a couple of little, just random. I think we got on and talked about the Up to Here box set one day. So we've done a couple things, and but I'm really looking forward to if Gord ever releases another solo album, which I think, well, if um, there are rumors there is more material out there, so I think we'll definitely get together and do like a new episode if that happens. So hopefully
I think
we'll.
that would be a lot of fun for sure.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Have you gone back and listened to any of the episodes? Like, I mean, I don't go and listen to my own podcast stuff, but like, have you gone back just to like your relationship with those albums now that you've done such a deep dive into them? Like, do you come back to that material?
I have listened to probably most of the podcasts at least a second time. Like I would listen when they came out, and I once in a while I'll put them on, especially like after a gig if I'm driving home really late, or I just need something to kind of keep me awake, or if I'm driving to a gig and it's something I'm really excited for, I put it on to kind of just, I don't know, it's just kind of rather than having music on. So I've done that a few times, and just it was kind of neat to kind of hear the guys again. That's kind of what it's about, is just kind of feeling like that connection again. um and kind of hearing what we had to say is interesting too. Like I do go back and listen to the music a lot, actually. Like the Gord, not all of it, but I'll put on like the Grand Bounce is one I go to a lot. I'll sometimes like randomize Coke Machine Glow. I'll do that sometimes. Like I definitely go back to it. Actually, Luster Parfait I go back to a lot
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely am not. Yeah, I find the period from Secret Path up to Introduce Yourself hard to listen to still, like even after going through it. I do have most music in my iTunes now, so when I'm listening to music, a lot of that stuff does come up even from those albums, and I rarely skip them. But as far as putting on a full album, it's I definitely do it once in a while, but not those albums so much. Just like I think the one I've had the hardest time going back to is Away Is Mine.
Yeah.
That was the album probably that I had the hardest time getting into. Um, and it's just so much the circumstance, knowing it was the last thing he recorded. Um, yeah, it's a great album. I do love them all um, in their own way. But yeah, honestly, the Grand Bounce is probably the one I go back to the most. It's such a good album.
Such a good
Yeah.
album. It is. I have my playlist that I made of like favorites as I was going through the catalog, and sometimes I'll just have it, randomized, but really anything from Secret Path or Introduce Yourself, like I will skip it just because it feels like it has to be, especially if we have it in the car. And my son has really liked going through my playlist. Like that's where he's going to listen to it. He's not going to listen to all the albums, but he really likes the playlist. And so like especially in the car, one of those songs will come up and I'm like, this is not the right time and place for this, like to vibe with this. It's heavy material for a little guy. So we keep it light when we have that flowing. But I'm always interested to kind of hear what people's take is, you know coming back to the solo material after, the first digestion of it. And we talked about that too, because I wanted to know like what your band's idea of it was, because Jeremy, the lead singer for the Strictly Hip, has said that he wants to do solo stuff, but like his band is just, we're just going to keep it exclusive to full band material, which makes sense. I understand. And so that's why I was very interested in what your band's take was on that.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be against doing it. I think I mentioned to you though, it's more like we've only been around for under 3 years really. Like our real start was November of 2022, I guess. So we're coming up on 3 years pretty soon. But we've learned a lot of songs, but they have
You
such a
still have a
vast
lot of
catalog.
other songs. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
there's just
sure.
so many to learn. We've got actually we're rehearsing right after this. I'm going out to rehearsal, and we've got a couple new ones on the go. Actually, we're gonna you'll be happy to hear we're gonna refresh All Tore Up. So we've only played it
Yes.
twice, I believe, ever, because it's a tough one, and it's also not a very well known one. So people are kind of like just sitting there staring. But
I would be the one yelling from like, I would run from the back all the way up and be like, fuck yes. I'd be so happy
yeah.
for everybody in the room. So
Well, we haven't played it in about 2 years, and one of the things within the last year we've started doing is using in-ear monitors, and that has really been a game changer in a lot of ways.
I bet.
And so I think that song is really going to benefit from playing with them. We don't rehearse with them typically though, so that's we probably should for this song especially,
Yeah.
because it's just got that middle section where it just kind of goes a bit out of control, and it makes sense. Like once you've learned it totally makes sense to me. But I know maybe some of the other guys, it's like um depending on the part you're playing, it can be just a little chaotic. But it's so fun to play, and I think I've kind of got the I think I know the secret to it now. I was listening the other day and I was like, you know what? It's not, the drums aren't super heavy pounding drums. When you listen to it, the drums it's fast, but it's just do da do da do da. It's just it's not really aggressively played. So I
Mm.
think I might suggest we kind of like lighten up the feel of it a little bit, and it's got that like, I don't know, almost like an Irish like like thing going on with the main lead guitar.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's such a cool song.
It's
It,
the
it
best
was it was
song.
super fun to learn. I remember like when I first heard it, I'm just like, how am I going to learn this? It's so strange, but then honestly, it makes perfect sense when you like, especially my part, the rhythm part is just really cool.
It's a
Um,
phenomenal song, and that's what I love about it. I mean, you could say it about so many songs where you know that everyone is just phenomenal. But for me, like that just feels like it solidifies just absolutely everything. And it's high energy, it's just got that whole vibe around it. And every last member of the band is just absolutely phenomenal. And then when you really listen to it and you listen to Sinclair just
mhm.
holding it down the whole you're just like, but listen to this part. But listen to this. And every time it's just like, and it's
Yeah,
a song you just have to turn past 11 and
yeah,
drive really fast.
yeah. Drive it like you stole it.
Every
Um,
time, listen, I have been obsessed with that song. Modern Spirit. I have been obsessed with that song. Like literally, I've played it 150 times in the past week because for some reason I have been married to Now for Plan A. I don't know why. Like literally, it's just kind of gross how obsessed I've become with that album in the past week. And every time I hear that line, I think of you. So I just wanted you to know that because I don't remember what it was, what you were on, and that you brought that up. And every time I hear that, I think of you. So it's funny that you said it
yeah,
again
he
now.
he says it on one of the Sadie songs.
That's what it was. I was like, what was
Yeah,
it that he had said it? He brought it up. And every time I listened to that song in the past week, I like thought of you. So it's really funny that you said it in the conversation too. So that's fantastic. Awesome.
yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. This was the best. And I really
Yeah, it
needed
was
this
fun.
today. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Okay,
Bye.
thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Please be sure to leave a review of the show. It would mean so much to me, and it helps get this podcast into the ears of even more fellow music fans. If you're not already following the show on social media, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Dropped Among This Crowd Podcast, or check out datcmediacompany.com for more. Thank you again. I'll see you around these parts real soon. Mad love.